Hi everyone, this is the next episode of Blackbox Thinking. I'm recording this on Monday night. The Burnley Newcastle game is on, and I can honestly say I have no interest in it whatsoever. So I'm not watching, and I'm going to be recording this instead. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the game week that's just gone. It's been a bit of a nightmare for everyone, I think, unless you've got kind of Sterling. I think everyone's had a pretty rough time. I mean, after a green arrow last week, I'm now looking at another red arrow back down into the mize of 200k. So yeah, not the best. So we're going to have a little analysis of what I think went wrong, how I can kind of put it right going forward. I've got a few ideas, of what to do to kind of try and address the slump and hopefully kick on a bit. So yeah, it'd be good to talk those through. So I got 40 points this week. Yeah, it's not great. My high scorer was Salah, who got 8. I didn't even really consider captaining him. I was actually quite confident going into this game. I thought with my hit with Lucas Dean and Martial, I thought I'd be able to get some points there, and Dean did come through, but Martial at home to Palace just blanked. I'll talk about him a bit later. Hazard blanked. Aguero blanked, Richarlison captain. I mean, a home fixture to Cardiff, playing out of position. I really thought that was going to be a good move this week. Really disappointed by that. And then the Wolves result, which I think really shocked everyone, them losing 2-0 at home to Huddersfield. I think everyone was kind of in the same boat with that, but still, I kind of feel like at this rank, some Doherty points would have been really nice. So yeah, disappointing across the board, really. Shout out to David, who told me to play Brooks over on Arnautovic, because that actually netted me 3 points. So fair play. But yeah, not the best week. Lots to kind of consider and to think about.
So Christmas is coming up, and we've got after this weekend, we've got the best period in the whole calendar, really, isn't it? You've got 3 games in quick successions, chance to dust yourself off after bad weeks, or really kind of get some momentum going into the new year. Christmas is always a really tricky one. I feel like I'm in quite good shape at the moment. I've got Brooks there as my kind of first sub, who I think I'm really impressed with him against Arsenal. I think he was unlucky not to score. Well, he did score, but it's offside, but marginally. And he's still got an assist. His games are kind of patchy in terms of fixtures, but he looks like he could come off my bench, and I think I would bet money on him coming off my bench at some point over Christmas and getting me some attacking returns. So I'm really happy with him. My defence is looking strong. I've got Isaac Success, who's probably going to become a Aubameyang at one point, as I put him alongside Kane. So yeah, I'm feeling rotation-wise, I'm feeling pretty good. I think the big question mark is over a player like Aguero. I'm probably not going to have to deal with him for much longer. It's going to be interesting to know whether he plays at the weekend, because he looks pretty certain to start in midweek. I wonder if he'll get this midweek game and then the weekend, then he might get the Tuesday off for Jesus. So that's one to keep your eye on. I mean, really, the City players, there's going to be tons of rotation, because they can put any team out and still kind of mow people over. But with Aguero's recent points and rotation, I do think it's a fairly sensible move to take him out for Kane or Aubameyang, who are definitely guaranteed more minutes. So that's what I'm looking to do there. I think with Liverpool, there's much less likelihood of any rotation there. I think Salah's going to play pretty much every game. Mane's going to play pretty much every game. Shaqiri's probably going to be kind of in and out, but I mean, Hazard's an interesting one, because we've seen Sarri does manage his minutes quite a lot, and it doesn't look like he's right still. And he's twisted his ankle again. He's kind of said, "Oh, I'm used to it now," but he's just picking up all these little injuries, and it kind of makes me think he's going to get some rest. I'm not going to be too sad to see the back of him. And also the key one that I mean pretty much everyone's got is Arnautovic. He got another knock in the match. He's still nursing this knee injury, although Pellegrini said he was looking a bit better this week, but he is a worry, because I mean we're really relying on him to do well over the Christmas break. His fixtures are incredible, and he could rack up some absolutely massive scores, but of course he needs to play. I think possibly the good thing about Arnautovic though is you wouldn't expect to see him, even in the squad. If he's either going to play or he's not going to be in the squad. So I think if you've got Arnautovic, then a decent bench is pretty much essential, because I think he is going to miss 1 or 2 games. Just the same as anyone could, but you've got to look at the players who are a bit more likely and kind of prepare for these situations.
So I've mentioned this before, but I really do think a lot of my issues are stemming back to my wild card. And although sort of in previous weeks, it's been the players I picked on the wild card not really delivering, I'm now entering a period where I want to make kind of wholesale changes to my team. I don't have the wild cards in place to be able to do that. So I really wish that I could kind of go back in time and not use that, not use that wild card. But yeah, hindsight's a wonderful thing, isn't it? I'm also a bit annoyed myself not getting Sterling in. I know it would have probably been Salah who left, but it still would have been points. And the plan was always to get in Sterling once that United game finished. The Mendy injury kind of few things up in the air, but it would have been sensible to have done that. I would have considered the captaincy on him as well. So yeah, it just feels like more points lost. And really, I think about 4 or 5 weeks ago, I had to make the decision between either getting rid of Hazard or Sterling to bring in Salah. Hazard had that injury, but I kind of felt like it was going to be all right. Probably an international break injury, and Europa League injury, I think it was, and Hazard just has been completely useless since. I think he's got 1 assist in 5 or 6 games. It's just not good enough for an 11 mil midfielder. And I've kind of stuck with him out of fear, really. I've wanted to get in Sterling for a while. It's been Salah who's been sort of top of my list on the chopping block, but I mean Salah has been relatively consistent. I mean, he's got in the last 5 game weeks he's only blanked once. Got 15 points against Cardiff. He scored against Fulham and Watford. He's not getting massive hauls, but he's doing a hell of a lot better than the rest of my team. So I'm now kind of debating whether if taking him out is the best idea. Hazard's got this really nice game against Fulham, but a switch from Hazard to Sterling, Hazard with a bit of an injury, might shake it off, but I kind of feel like I'm in a similar situation again now, and actually taking Salah out might not be my best move. And I just want Sterling. I just think I saw him in that England match, and it was kind of the first time when he'd really taken that kind of blistering Man City form into internationals. I thought he's really growing as a player, and this season he seems to have grown even more. His whole game is just relentless attacking. He's exactly the kind of player that you want to have in your team. And I know there's a risk of rotation with him, but my God, you watch him play. I mean, involved in 3 out of 4 goals, 21 points a few weeks ago. He's just blowing everyone else out of the water. And the way City are playing, he's going to finish top scorer, top FPL scorer this year. I can't see anyone getting close to him. He hasn't got penalties, he hasn't got free kicks, but he's just so relentlessly attacking. I can't see anyone else getting close to him. So yeah, he has got to come in. So that is going to be my plan this week. He's coming in for either Salah or Hazard, and at the moment I'm leaning towards getting rid of Hazard. It actually brings me on quite nicely to my plan, my big reveal of my plan. I think whereas last year formations were kind of key to how well I did. I was kind of switching between 4 at the back or 3 up front or 5 in midfield and all that kind of stuff. And I did really well with that. I think this year, one of the key things is having the right heavy hitters in. And looking at the 3 heavy hitters at the moment, I mean, I've talked about Salah's kind of consistency, but for 13 million, you can make the case that you still want more from him. I think going through the Christmas period, you've got Salah, Hazard and Aguero, who I've got at the moment, and I think a lot of people have got. And I just don't think they're the optimal 3 big hitters. I think for the same money, we could be getting over the next few weeks Sterling, Kane and Aubameyang. And that's the way that I want to go, I think, with my transfers over the next few weeks. I'm relatively happy with the rest of my team, although they're not really performing as well as I'd like. I'm happy with all of them, I'd say, bar Martial, who I'm already starting to regret bringing in. But I think you're very reliant on these three players, and the ownership wise, I mean, Salah's got 36
percent ownership at the time I'm speaking. Hazard's got 41, and Aguero's got 53. Now they're not delivering as many points as you would like. I mean, Aguero, he did brilliantly well against Southampton, but other than that, he's had one double-digit haul all season. Hazard has had 4 double-digit hauls, but hasn't registered more than 4 points in the last 5 weeks. And then Salah, he's being consistent, but Liverpool just don't seem to really be clicking at the moment. And actually, I don't think the fixtures are that nice for him. Right up until the new year, really. They've got Everton at home, which could go kind of anyway. Then they've got 2 away games in Burnley and Bournemouth. Now you'd expect there to be goals there, but away from home, Liverpool just don't seem that great. If I'm being totally honest. And they've got United, then they've got Wolves, and they've got Newcastle. And actually, Newcastle just scored against Burnley again, so maybe that Burnley game is better than I'm giving them credit for. But I think after that Burnley game, those fixtures aren't fantastic. And when I look at Sterling, Aubameyang, and Kane, the fixtures they've got, and their relatively low ownership, I think they could be a real decider in getting my rank back to where I want it to be. So that's my plan, I think. I think I'm going to be looking to make the shift of my big 3 into another big 3, and hoping that that can kind of be the difference between having a good end to the year and having a mediocre one. Looking at Man United's draw with Palace got me kind of thinking a bit about risk and reward. And I think, Martial, I know he's been consistent, but he did always feel to me like a bit of a risk. United aren't playing well at all. There doesn't seem to be any chemistry between any of their players. They haven't had many good results lately. They had the comeback win against Juventus and the comeback win against Bournemouth, but they haven't looked right in any other game this season, I don't think. And I know Martial's playing well, but my kind of theory was if he's the kind of talisman for a team, that doesn't really matter how rubbish that team is. But I'm thinking maybe I've kind of thought things a bit wrongly there. Another player at the moment who I'm considering is Son. I was crazy impressed with him against Chelsea. He looked like an absolute demon. He was running around like a lunatic. I mean, the goal he scored was absolutely fantastic. There's a big worry about his where his place in the team is. And I thought when Lamela came on, I thought he did really well as well. It's Lucas Moura who I can't see staying in that team. I think with the form that Lamela and Son are showing, I don't know why they wouldn't play those two. Actually, when Son plays, the positions he gets into, kind of playing ahead of Kane, if he can get a run of starts, and I think he's going to be a great pick. So I was thinking about how I could make that move, and I thought, hang on, this is just switching a really risky player for another really risky player. But I was kind of thinking, well, who's a kind of safe player to get in? And I mean, the safest player that I can think of, in the league at the moment, has to be David Silva, because he's chipping away with points every week. I mean, he got 9 points. He scored 3 in his last 3 games. Got 9 points this week. 9 points against United. 9 points against Southampton. He's missed 2 games and he's been subbed a few times, but he's starting the majority of their matches. I think he's still crazy important to City and the way they play. And I think he's a season keeper. If you've got him in, you just keep him and you don't even worry about him missing the odd match, because at 8.6, he's so much cheaper than all the other Man City midfielders and Aguero that it almost doesn't really matter if he misses out. So he seems like a really, really good option. And I mean, especially with Mendy out now, I'm not still entirely sure that going for another Man City defender is the way to go. So if you're looking at Sterling, Aguero and Silva, I think they're a really good trio. I think you can make a case for Sané as well. You can even go 3 City midfielders if you're feeling particularly bold. But I think Silva is a really, really good shout, and I think he's still being overlooked in a lot of teams that I'm seeing. And he's a player that I do have my eye on. He's just a little bit tricky to get in at the moment, especially if I'm doing my my power 3 out for another power 3. But I think if you're looking for a player just to get in for the long term, then I don't think you can do much better than David Silva. So that's my thoughts, really. After this week, I'm still relatively happy with my team going forward. I think with my plan in place, I should hopefully go up the rankings a bit, and I'm going to be a bit bold over Christmas to try and get that jump. So yeah, I think there's not really much else I want to say, really. I'm going to try and do one of these next week, before all the games kick off. I think Monday nights seems to be quite a good night to do these, even though it's quite early on. So yeah, I hope you all have a good week at the weekend, and thanks for listening.